The terminal buzzed with impatient footsteps, boarding calls, and suitcase wheels clicking over polished tile. Ethan Cole didn't hear any of it. He had just frozen mid-stride near gate 32. 10 feet away, near the coffee kiosk, stood Clara Reed. 3 years. 3 years since she vanished without a word. No closure, no explanations, nothing but a short typed message. "I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore." And now there she was. Same almond eyes, hair a little longer, face more angular, but unmistakably her. She wasn't alone. In her arms, wrapped in a navy blue coat with a small knitted hat, was a child. A boy, no more than 3 years old. Ethan's lungs stalled. The child turned slightly, just enough for Ethan to see him clearly, and the world around him blurred. The boy's eyes, ice blue, sharp, focused. The same eyes Ethan saw in the mirror every morning. His chest tightened. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be. Yet everything inside him screamed the truth. He took a step forward as if in a trance. "Clara." She looked up, their eyes locked, and in that fraction of a second, Ethan saw panic flood her face. She turned sharply, tightening her grip on the boy, and began moving away. Fast. Her pace was careful but urgent, her eyes scanning for exits. She didn't run, but she was escaping. "Clara!" Ethan shouted, but the noise swallowed his voice whole. He pushed forward, elbowing past passengers and dodging suitcases. A voice crackled over the loudspeaker announcing a final boarding call, but he barely registered it. All he could think was, "Don't lose her again." By the time he reached the spot where she'd stood, she was gone. He spun in circles, scanning the crowd, heart pounding like a war drum. Nothing. No Clara, no boy, only silence. And a gnawing hole inside him. His mind reeled, logic scrambling to keep up with emotion. It couldn't have been a coincidence. That child had his eyes. He stumbled back and leaned against a column, chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. 3 years. No word. And now this? He pulled out his phone with shaking hands. He wasn't even sure who he was calling, until he heard the voice on the other end. "Ethan? You sound like you saw a ghost." "I think I did," Ethan said, barely above a whisper. "She was at the airport, Ryan. Clara. She was there, and she had a kid." There was a pause. Then, Ryan's voice dropped low. "You sure it was her? I'd know her anywhere." "You spoke to her?" "She ran. Disappeared before I could get to her." Another silence, then, "And the kid?" Ethan gripped the phone harder, his knuckles white. "He had my eyes, Ryan." A long exhale came through the speaker. "You think he's yours?" "I don't know, but I can't stop thinking about it." Back in Manhattan, the city lights glared through the windows of Ethan's penthouse, glittering like judgmental stars. He poured a glass of whiskey and sat in the living room, eyes empty, mind racing. Ryan leaned against the window frame behind him. "So what now? I don't even know where to start." Ryan scoffed. "Ethan Cole doesn't know where to start? Come on. You run one of the largest equity firms on the East Coast. If anyone can find someone, it's you. I tried before, remember? Right after she left. There was no trace. And now she's back. With a kid. Your move, man." Ethan looked down into the amber swirl of his drink. "What if he is mine?" Ryan didn't answer. He didn't have to. The silence said it all. "I need to know," Ethan said finally, almost to himself. "I need to find her again. This time I need answers." He stood abruptly, grabbed his laptop, and opened it with purpose. But the screen reflected nothing back except a blank inbox and a blinking cursor. No trail, no leads, no Clara. Only the memory of blue eyes that didn't belong to her, but to him. He lit a cigarette, something he hadn't done in years. His hands trembled as he brought it to his lips. One image burned behind his eyes. The child, standing quietly, watching the world, unaware that the man frozen across the airport terminal had a heart crashing to pieces. Ethan barely slept that night. By morning, he was on the phone with every contact he trusted, private investigators, data analysts, even an ex-military friend who specialized in off-grid people. But no one had anything. No new name, no digital trace, nothing. The digital void only made the possibility more real. Clara wasn't just away. She had made herself disappear, and she'd taken his child with her. 2 days later, Ryan found him at the office, hunched. Over blueprints he wasn't really reading. "Stop torturing yourself," Ryan said. "You said she's originally from upstate, right? That quiet town with the lake?" Ethan looked up, his eyes tired. "She mentioned it once. I barely remember." "Well, maybe she went back." "You've got connections there, don't you?" "Maybe." Ryan leaned forward. "Start thinking like a man trying to find someone, not like someone who's already lost her." Ethan stared at the maps. Town names blurred together. Then one stood out. Marlow Hill. Quiet. Secluded. No media noise. A good place to disappear. With a child. "All right," he said, pushing back his chair. "I'll drive up this afternoon." It was past sunset when Ethan reached Marlow Hill. The road curved like a whisper through thick woods and quiet farmland. The kind of place where people kept to themselves. He drove slowly past small shops and diners, trying to recognize anything. He didn't. He'd never been here. But she might be. He stopped at a cafe near the town square. An elderly waitress approached. "What can I get you?" Ethan pulled out his phone and tapped the screen to reveal a photo, an old one of Clara, smiling on a summer day. "Have you seen her?" he asked. The woman squinted. Maybe. Comes in sometimes, with a little boy." Ethan's breath hitched. "Do you know where she lives?" "No idea," she said. "But she's usually here late afternoons." Ethan glanced at the clock. It was nearly 6. He ordered a coffee and sat near the window. Eyes on the door. Waiting. At exactly 6:12, she walked in. Gray coat, same as at the airport. She held a boy's hand as they stepped inside. Ethan didn't breathe. The child, Noah, climbed into the booth while Clara ordered. Ethan stood slowly. The noise in the restaurant dimmed in his ears. She turned and froze. For a second, neither of them moved. Then she whispered, "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing." Clara straightened, her voice sharp. "This isn't the time. You've been hiding from me for 3 years. I think any time is the right time." Her lips pressed tight. She glanced down at Noah. He was playing with a plastic spoon, oblivious. Ethan's voice dropped. "Is that child mine?" She looked at him, truly looked, and for a moment everything inside her seemed to collapse. Her lips parted, but no sound came. The air around them felt electric, heavy, and then she said it, barely above a whisper. "Not here." They didn't speak again until she led him to her apartment. It was a modest 2-room unit above a florist shop on the edge of town. Sparse, clean, lived in. A far cry from the luxury Ethan had grown used to, but he barely noticed the walls or the furniture. His eyes were locked on the boy, Noah, who had fallen asleep in the car, small fists curled under his cheek like he was guarding dreams. Clara unlocked the door and stepped inside first. "He'll sleep better on the couch," she said without looking back. She laid him down gently, pulled a blanket over his small frame, then stood in silence, staring down at him for a long moment. Ethan followed. He didn't speak. Couldn't. Every nerve in his body buzzed with unspoken questions. Clara finally turned to face him. "Is he mine?" he asked, directly this time. No hesitation. She closed her eyes. Yes, the word detonated in his chest. "Ethan," staggered back a half step, one hand dragging down his face as if trying to process what the hell he'd just heard. You knew? From the beginning, she whispered. He stared at her, stunned. And you never told me? I tried, she said quickly. I tried calling, I tried coming to your office, but someone else got to me first. He frowned. Who? Clara hesitated. Clara, he snapped. Who? Your mother. The room fell still. Ethan's face turned to stone. Victoria. Clara nodded, looking down at her hands. She found me before I could find you, said you'd moved on, that you didn't want me anymore, that I'd be a burden. She offered me money to disappear. His voice was low, dangerous. Did you take it? No. She met his gaze. I didn't want anything from her. I didn't know what to believe. I was confused. Alone. And by the time I thought maybe she was lying, it felt too late. Ethan's jaw clenched. You should have told me anyway. I know, she said quietly. But you didn't come looking either. That hit deeper than he expected. He turned away, walked to the window, and stared out into the dark. 3 years. 3 entire years. He'd missed first words. First steps. Laughter. Tears. He'd missed everything. And now this boy, his son, was sleeping just feet away, completely unaware that his father had walked through the door for the first time in his life. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. I need a minute. Clara said nothing. She simply sat on the worn arm of a chair, her body heavy with 100 unsaid things. At the door, Ethan paused. I'm not leaving. Her eyes lifted to meet his. I'm not walking away from him, he said again, voice steadier this time. And I'm not letting you disappear again. He left, the door clicking softly behind him. The next morning, Ethan was already waiting outside the florist shop when Clara stepped out. She didn't look surprised. He followed her silently down the street until she turned toward a small park tucked behind a bakery. A couple of parents sat on benches, watching kids climb the faded jungle gym. Noah ran ahead, full of energy, his tiny shoes slapping the pavement. Ethan watched every movement, memorizing. His laugh, his posture, the way he kicked at leaves like they were enemies. Clara spoke first. He doesn't know anything about you, I figured. I wasn't trying to erase you, Ethan. I was trying. To protect him, he looked at her. From what? From rejection, from false hope, from your world. My world. Money, cameras, control, expectations, and your mother. Ethan exhaled through his nose, eyes still on Noah. I'm not her. Clara turned toward him. You're not. But you were raised by her. You learned from her. And for a long time, I thought maybe you were going to become her. He looked down. Maybe I would have, but then you left and I broke. There was a pause. Clara blinked quickly as if holding back something she didn't want him to see. So what now? She asked. I'm staying. You can't just insert yourself into his life. He doesn't know you. Then I'll let him get to know me. Clara shook her head, a flash of frustration in her eyes. It's not that simple. I'm not expecting simple. I'm expecting to try. She didn't reply. Instead, they both watched Noah approach a boy with a bucket of chalk and ask politely if he could share. Clara's voice dropped. He's kind, he's smart, and he's sensitive. If you're going to be in his life, you can't leave again. I'm not going anywhere. I'm serious, Ethan. So am I. She finally looked at him again. There was skepticism in her eyes, but also something else, something softer, a trace of the woman who once believed in him. I want to be his dad, Ethan said. Not just biologically. I want to earn it. Clara studied him, as if trying to determine whether the man standing in front of her was the same one she once loved, or someone entirely new. Then we start slow, she said finally. Visits, no sleepovers, no surprises, you follow my lead. Fine. And you don't make promises you can't keep. I won't. A long silence settled between them. All right, she said, almost to herself. We'll try. It wasn't much, but to Ethan it felt like a crack of light through a locked door. He glanced again at Noah, who was now drawing on the pavement with wild concentration. He had his eyes. There was no more doubt, and no turning back. Ethan sat in his rental car outside a quiet apartment complex on Oak Ridge Lane. He hadn't meant to stay this long in Marlow Hill. But that was before he knew he had a son. The morning sunlight filtered through the windshield. He watched as Clara walked Noah out of the building, one hand gently resting on the boy's shoulder. Noah wore a backpack that looked too big for him and shoes that lit up when he walked. Ethan smiled. He remembered having those kind of shoes once. When Clara noticed the car, her jaw tightened. She said something to Noah, probably something like, "It's okay," then walked over. Ethan rolled the window down. Need a ride? You need to not hover, she replied, arms crossed. I'm not hovering, he said. I'm offering. She sighed, looked back at Noah, who was busy hopping between sidewalk cracks, then opened the door and got in. Noah climbed into the back seat. Ethan turned, buckling his seatbelt. Hey, Noah. The boy stared back, unblinking. Hi. Clara gave him a look that said, keep it simple. Where to? Ethan asked, starting the engine. Community preschool. 2 blocks up, right after the pharmacy. As they drove, Ethan glanced in the rearview mirror. Noah was humming something absent-mindedly, running a finger along the car window. It was surreal. There was a whole life in this kid. His voice, his rhythm, his spark, and Ethan had missed it all. When they arrived, Clara walked Noah to the gate. Ethan stayed behind, watching from the car as she knelt beside their son, tied one of his laces, and kissed his forehead. Then she came back. He likes you, she said, sliding into the passenger seat. He barely said 2 words. That's a good sign. He usually doesn't speak to strangers. That hit harder than he expected. I'm not going to be a stranger for long. Clara turned to him. That's up to you. That afternoon, Ethan moved into a furnished apartment downtown. It wasn't much, neutral beige walls, minimal furniture, but it was 10 minutes from Clara and 5 from the preschool. He didn't tell her he was staying long-term. Not yet. He didn't want her walls to go up again. Instead, he focused on spending time with Noah, brief windows Clara allowed. A walk to the park, a shared ice cream, a quiet moment on a bench drawing dinosaurs with sidewalk chalk. It wasn't much, but it was enough to start. One afternoon, as they sat on the grass, Noah turned to him out of nowhere. Are you my mom's friend? Ethan blinked. Sort of. You talk like me, Noah said, matter-of-factly. Ethan grinned. Do I? Yeah, Noah said. Fast and serious. Ethan laughed. Maybe that's because we're a little alike. Noah tilted his head. Are you going to come again tomorrow? If your mom says I can. Noah nodded. Okay. It was that simple. Later. That night, Clara opened the door looking tired. Noah had already fallen asleep. Ethan stepped inside quietly, not wanting to wake him. He said I talk like him. Ethan whispered with a small smile. Clara raised an eyebrow. He said that? Fast and serious, Ethan mimicked. His words, not mine. For the first time in days, she smiled. They stood in the kitchen, the soft hum of the fridge the only sound between them. He's good, Ethan said finally. Happy, smart. Clara nodded, folding her arms across her chest. He's my whole world. Ethan looked at her. I want to be part of that world. I know. You don't believe me yet, do you? I don't know if I can, Ethan. Try. Clara's expression softened for a moment before hardening again. You have another life. Big city. Bigger deals. You're used to boardrooms, not bedtime stories. I'll learn. You think it's that easy? No, he said. but I think he's worth it. She looked down, lips pressed into a line. Good night, Ethan. The following week, Clara relaxed the rules slightly. She let Ethan take Noah to a Saturday morning farmer's market, just the two of them. It felt like a test. They wandered, through stands of honey jars, fresh bread, and secondhand books. Noah insisted on holding Ethan's hand the entire time, pointing out every animal-shaped pastry and asking more questions than Ethan could answer. Why is that tomato green? Can bees smell? Do clouds sleep? Every question was a gift. Every moment was one he knew he could never get back if he missed it. On the way back, Noah dozed off in the car, his head leaning against the window. Ethan didn't drive straight home. Instead, he pulled over at a quiet park, left the engine running, and stared at his sleeping son. He took out his phone and called Ryan. I found him, he said. You found Clara? Yes, and I have a son. There was a beat of stunned silence. Then Ryan said, Jesus, you're sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. What now? I stay. When he dropped Noah off later that day, Clara opened the door before he could knock. Did he eat? 2 apples, 1 bagel, and a cinnamon stick from a vendor who told him jokes in French. French? Yeah. Noah responded in gibberish, but it sounded legit. Clara chuckled under her breath. That sounds like him. As she looked past Ethan to see Noah still waking up in the car seat, something flickered in her expression. A trace of nostalgia, or longing, or fear. Clara. She turned to him slowly. I'm not going to disappear. She didn't answer, not yet. But she didn't close the door either. And that, to Ethan, was something. The market buzzed with small-town calm, people chatting over peaches, a boy selling hand-carved birdhouses, and toddlers clinging to parents with juice-stained fingers. Clara stood at a stall, comparing cucumbers, when her heart jolted. A presence. That unmistakable pressure in her chest. She turned slowly, already knowing. There, impeccably dressed in cream slacks and a silk blouse that didn't belong in a place that sold eggs by the dozen, stood Victoria Cole. Her posture was sharp, her eyes sharper. The very air around her seemed colder. I can't believe you're here, Victoria said, voice as calm and calculated as always. Clara's body stiffened. I'm not doing this. She turned to leave, but Victoria reached out. Just a brush on her arm, but enough. Not so fast, she said coolly. We have unfinished business. Clara stared her down. 3 years wasn't enough for you? Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. I gave you an opportunity. You took a different path. And now you've involved my son. Clara's pulse spiked. Your son? You mean our son? Victoria's expression didn't change. You're naive if you think Ethan can handle this. You're dragging him into something he's not prepared for. He's not the one I'm worried about. Victoria's voice softened, the way one does before a knife slides in. Do you think Ethan can protect that child from this world? From the Cole legacy? From the scrutiny, the expectations, the power struggles? Clara's voice trembled. You said he didn't care. You lied to me. Victoria took a step closer. I made it easier for everyone. No, you made it easier for yourself. Victoria tilted her head. Do you truly believe Ethan will stay? He doesn't have your kind of patience, Clara. And when he walks away, and he will, your son will be left wondering why he wasn't enough. Clara felt like she couldn't breathe. You don't get to speak about him, you don't know him. I know blood, Victoria replied coolly. And I know what it means to be a Cole. That child doesn't belong in hiding. And yet you're the one who forced us into it. Victoria's smile turned razor thin. Last chance, Clara. Leave while you can, or I'll make this much harder for everyone. And just like that, she turned and vanished into the crowd, leaving behind the faint scent of perfume and poison. Clara didn't tell Ethan immediately. She tried to shake it off, drink tea, distract herself with laundry, cling to routine. But the next morning when he showed up at the apartment, She couldn't mask her tension. "You okay?" he asked as soon as she opened the door. "Fine," she said too quickly. He frowned. "Clara?" She hesitated, then exhaled. "Your mother came to see me." Everything in Ethan's expression hardened. "What did she say?" "She wants me gone. She still thinks she can control everything." "She threatened you?" "Not directly, but she made it clear. If I don't back off, she'll try to take Noah." Ethan's eyes darkened. "She wouldn't." "She would," Clara cut in. "You know she would." He looked at her with a kind of fury he'd only ever reserved for boardroom betrayal. "She thinks she can scare you." "She did scare me," Clara said, voice low. "Because she's powerful, Ethan. She's connected, and I can't afford to lose my son." Ethan stepped closer. "You're not losing him. I won't let her. She plays dirty." "So do I." That night, Ethan sat alone in his apartment, staring at his phone. Then, with a deep breath, he made the call. His mother picked up after 2 rings. "Ethan," she said, clipped and composed. "I was wondering how long it would take. We need to talk. About the child." He ignored the venom in her tone. "About Clara. About Noah. About everything." She sighed. "Don't be impulsive. You're emotionally compromised." "I'm aware. I'm also done pretending you're not the problem." There was silence. "You manipulated Clara," he said flatly. "You lied to her. You made her disappear." "I protected you." "No. You protected your image. You knew I would have chosen her. You couldn't handle that." Victoria's voice sharpened. "That girl is not part of our world." "She is now. She's unstable. She ran because you made her." Another silence. "I'm going to be in my son's life," Ethan said. "Whether you like it or not. And if you try to get between me and him again, I'll go public." Victoria gave a soft laugh. "Oh, Ethan, I'm serious. I'll expose everything. How you manipulated her, paid her off, threatened her. I don't care if it drags my name through the mud. It'll drag yours down too." Her tone cooled to ice. "You'd burn your own reputation? For my son?" In a heartbeat. There was a pause. Then her voice dropped to something dangerous. "You have no idea what you're playing with. And neither do you," Ethan said. "So stay away from Clara. Stay away from Noah." And he hung up. 3 days passed. No phone calls, no emails, no strange letters. Clara tried to believe it was over, but her hand still shook when unknown numbers lit up her phone. Noah, of course, noticed nothing. He spent his afternoons drawing dragons and clouds with Ethan, giggling like the world had no cracks in it. One evening, as they all sat at the table eating pancakes for dinner, Noah suddenly looked at Ethan and said, "You make good syrup." Ethan laughed. "That's high praise." Clara smiled, a moment of warmth slicing through her walls. "He doesn't compliment easily." Ethan looked at her, eyes soft. "Neither do you." They shared a look, and for a moment, just a moment, it felt like the world was rebuilding itself. But the next morning, a letter arrived at Clara's door. No return address, only a thick cream envelope with perfect handwriting. She opened it with trembling fingers. "You have one last chance to do the right thing. See you tomorrow, 10 a.m., Victoria." Clara stared at the paper until the words blurred. Ethan was already knocking on her door by the time she looked up. She handed him the letter. He read it once, then again. His jaw tightened. "You're not going alone," he said. "I'm not going at all," she snapped, fear overriding reason. "If you don't, she wins," Ethan said. "We show up, together, not to ask, not to beg, to end this." Clara clenched her fists. "She'll destroy everything." "No," he said calmly. "Not this time." And this time, Clara believed him. The restaurant was the kind of place where secrets were whispered over imported wine and deals were made without paperwork. Ethan hated it. It was one of his mother's favorite venues, elegant, exclusive, suffocating. Q. He and Clara arrived. Victoria Cole was already seated. Her posture was regal, as if the table itself bowed to her presence. A porcelain cup of untouched tea sat before her, steaming delicately. Clara instinctively slowed her step. Ethan reached for her hand under the table as they sat down. She didn't pull away. "You brought her," Victoria said without looking at either of them. Ethan folded his hands calmly. "Clara is the reason we're here." Victoria smiled, slow and cold. "I see you're still prone to dramatics." "No games," Clara cut in, voice sharper than her expression. "Say what you came to say." Victoria took a sip of her tea before speaking. "I want what's best for Noah." Ethan scoffed. "You don't even know him. He's a Cole. That means something." "To you," Clara said. "To the rest of us, he's a child, a person, not a trophy or a legacy." Victoria's smile didn't falter. "I know what the world will demand of him. I've seen what happens when you let sentiment raise heirs." Ethan leaned forward. "He's not an heir. He's a little boy who likes dinosaurs and apple juice, and you don't get to decide his future. I'll decide what I must to protect this family." "You don't own this family," Ethan said, voice like steel. "And you never did." Victoria's expression darkened ever so slightly. "I could win in court," she said evenly. "You know that. I have resources, lawyers, psychologists. I could paint either of you as unfit." "You try that," Ethan said, "and I'll destroy you publicly. I'll leak everything. Your manipulation, your threats, how you coerced Clara into leaving." Victoria blinked, the first visible crack in her armor. "That would damage you too." "I can live with damage," Ethan replied. "Can you?" For a long moment no one spoke. The room around them faded into soft murmurs and clinking glasses, but the tension at their table pulsed like a living thing. Then Victoria looked at Clara directly for the first time. "You think you've won?" she said. Clara met her gaze. "I don't want to win, I want to live." Victoria looked down at her tea, then back up. "You should know, if I back off, it's not surrender, it's strategy." "We're not afraid of you anymore," Ethan said. Her eyes flicked to him with a subtle, burning calculation. She stood, slowly gathering her purse. "Enjoy your little victory." As she walked away, her heels clicking in perfect rhythm, Clara exhaled so sharply she almost choked. Ethan placed a hand on her back. "She's not done," Clara said. "I know," he whispered. The next few days were strange, silent, heavy with anticipation, as if waiting for a storm that refused to break. No calls, no letters, no legal threats, just quiet, too quiet. Then, one evening, Ethan's phone buzzed with a message from a blocked number. "Enjoy your moment, Ethan, but remember, there's more than one way to win." He showed Clara. Her face went pale. "She's planning something else," Ethan nodded. "Probably, but it won't work." "You sound so sure." "I have to be." She sat down, rubbing her temples. "I don't like this feeling. Waiting. Wondering." He crouched in front of her. "We're not who we were 3 years ago. We're stronger now." Clara looked into his eyes, quiet, steady, no bravado, just conviction. "Stronger together?" she asked. "Yes." A silence passed, one that felt different than before, not distant, measured, like the foundation of something slowly, deliberately being rebuilt. That weekend, Ethan took Noah to the park while Clara worked a morning shift at the bookstore. It was early, the sky overcast, the ground soft from the night's rain. Noah ran ahead, chasing birds he had no chance of catching. Ethan followed slower, sipping coffee and feeling something unfamiliar stretch inside him. Peace. He watched his son roll in grass, build a tower of stones, and fall in love with a muddy stick like it was made of gold. Every so often, Noah would glance back, just to check if Ethan was still there, and he always was. That night, after Noah fell asleep with a half-finished drawing of a robot dragon in his lap, Clara sat across from Ethan at the kitchen table. They drank tea. Not wine. Not whiskey. Just tea. Like they were two people trying to learn each other again. "I don't think she's finished," Clara said, staring into her cup. "She isn't," Ethan replied. "So what now?" He shrugged. "We wait, and we prepare." She looked at him, harder than before, like searching for an exit or a promise. "You think we're safe?" "No," he said honestly. "But I think we're ready." Clara took a slow breath. "I hope so." Ethan leaned forward slightly. "No matter what she throws at us next, I'm here." "I know," she whispered. "That's what scares me." He tilted his head. "Why?" "Because if you stay, that changes everything." Ethan reached for her hand. This time, she didn't pull away. "I want everything to change," he said softly. The following Tuesday, Clara found a small envelope slipped under her apartment door. No return address, only a folded sheet of thick stationery. Inside, in bold, perfect penmanship, "I'm not done. V." Clara read it twice, then calmly folded it again and dropped it into the trash. When Ethan arrived that night, she didn't mention it. She didn't need to. Instead, she opened the door, looked at him and said, "Do you want to come in?" He smiled. "Only if you want me to." And for the first time, she did. Clara didn't sleep that night. Even with Ethan just down the hallway, even with Noah safe in his room dreaming about dragons and sand castles, her mind refused to rest. The note still echoed in her brain. "I'm not done?" And Victoria Cole never made idle threats. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, counting all the ways this could fall apart. What if she called child services? What if she used Ethan's past against him? What if Noah somehow got caught in the crossfire? She sat up, gripped by a sudden nausea. Her body trembled, not from cold, but from helplessness. She had done everything right, and still it might not be enough. She stepped out into the living room and found Ethan there, still awake, sitting on the couch in silence, one leg bouncing anxiously. He didn't look surprised to see her. "You feel it too," she said softly. "Yeah." Clara wrapped a blanket around herself and sat beside him. "Do you think she'll really come after us again?" she asked. Ethan didn't answer immediately. His jaw flexed, his eyes heavy. "She doesn't like losing." "I'm scared," Clara whispered. "Not just of her, but of this, of getting used to you being here." He turned to her. "Why?" "Because I don't want to watch you walk away." "Not again." "I won't." "You say that now." Ethan reached out, brushing his fingers gently against hers. "Clara, I know I failed you once, but I'm not the same man. And you're not the same woman. We're stronger now." She looked at him for a long moment. "What if strength isn't enough? Then we fight smarter." He squeezed her hand once before letting go. The next morning, Ethan met with his lawyer in a small, rented office near Town Square. "I need a contingency plan," he said. "Something airtight." His lawyer, a tall man in his 50s with a calm demeanor and a steel-trap mind, nodded. "You're expecting an attack? She already tried once, she'll try again. And you want full legal guardianship?" Ethan shook his head. "Not yet. That's not the angle. I want to secure custody rights, shared custody. So if she ever challenges again, there's no loophole." The lawyer leaned back. "You'll need proof that the child is yours. And Clara's cooperation." "I've got both. And character references. Maybe even a therapist's assessment of the child's environment." "I'll get it." The man gave him a long look. "This isn't business, Mr. Cole. There are no hostile takeovers here. It's messier." "I know," Ethan replied. "But it's worth it." Meanwhile, Clara sat across from a family counselor, nervously twisting a tissue in her lap. The woman across from her, Dr. Melson, had kind eyes and didn't take notes. She just listened. You said the child's father recently reappeared? The counselor asked. Yes, I thought he was gone, and I never imagined he'd show up in an airport of all places. Dr. Melson smiled softly. What changed when he did? Clara looked down. Everything, including how Noah sees the world? Clara hesitated. Noah doesn't fully understand yet, but he likes Ethan. More than I expected, and that scares me. Because it makes things real? Because it means there's something to lose. The counselor nodded. That's always been true, Clara. The only difference is, now you're letting someone in. Clara blinked away, the sting in her eyes. Dr. Melson offered a kind smile. You don't need to protect Noah from love. You need to protect him from fear. Later that week, Ethan picked Noah up from preschool. The boy came barreling into his arms, sticky hands and all, holding a drawing of the two of them. Stick figures under a crooked sun. This is you, Noah pointed, grinning. And that's me. Ethan looked at the wobbly blue crayon lines and felt something shift inside him. Something deep and permanent. He knelt down. Can I keep this? Noah nodded. It's your picture. That night, Ethan hung it on the fridge of his rented apartment like it was framed art. The next day it came, a legal notice. Victoria Cole was requesting an independent psychological evaluation of Noah's living conditions and of Clara herself. The letter arrived at Clara's door while Ethan was out. She read it 3 times before sitting down numb. When Ethan returned and saw the envelope on the counter, his body tensed immediately. She's escalating. Clara nodded. She's trying to make me look unstable. She won't win. She's smart, Ethan. She knows how to play the long game. Ethan stepped toward her, voice low but sure. Then we outlast her. Clara didn't speak. Her eyes were red, but no tears fell. Tell me what you need, he said. I'll give it. She looked at him with the tired defiance of someone who wanted to believe but had been burned too many times. Don't make me fight alone, she whispered. Ethan didn't hesitate. Never again. Over the next 2 days, Ethan and Clara prepared. Character references, documentation, counseling reports, photos, letters from neighbors. Every detail of Noah's life, his health, his school reports, even videos of him playing, was assembled. Like armor. And through it all, Clara began to see something unexpected. Ethan didn't try to take control. He followed her lead. When she wanted to wait, he waited. When she needed space, he stepped back. But when it came time to face Victoria, he stood by her, no hesitation, no conditions. Like a partner, like a father, like a man trying to rebuild something sacred from rubble. Late one evening, after Noah had fallen asleep on the couch watching cartoons, Clara sat beside Ethan under the dim kitchen light. She looked at him for a long time. No words, he waited. I thought I was going to do this alone forever, she said. You won't, he replied. Not as long as I'm breathing. Clara stared at him, then whispered the one thing she hadn't said in years. I believe you. The hearing was postponed. Victoria's lawyers cited schedule conflicts, but Ethan knew better. It was a move straight from her playbook. Buy time, stretch resources, and wear them down emotionally. But this time, they didn't flinch. They used the extra days to strengthen their file. Clara's counselor offered a personal statement detailing how Noah thrived emotionally. The preschool provided glowing reviews. Even neighbors contributed letters describing Ethan as gentle, involved, and clearly devoted. Still, Clara couldn't shake the feeling. She's not after custody, she muttered one night as they walked through the town square with Noah asleep in his stroller. Ethan looked over. Then what is she after? Control. The idea that she still owns the narrative. Ethan sighed. Let her try. That version of me doesn't exist anymore. Clara stopped walking. That's just it. I don't know what version of you does. Ethan turned to her. Then let me show you. There it was again, the invisible line between them, drawn in years of doubt and silence. Clara crossed it slowly. How do I know you'll stay if everything goes back to normal? Because it already did, he said. At least for me. She blinked. I want mornings where he asks for pancakes and doesn't pronounce syrup right. I want sticky fingers on my clothes. I want this. You think you want this. I know I do. Her arms tightened across her chest. What if I mess it all up again? Then we fix it. Together. Clara looked down at Noah, asleep with his hand curled into a fist. So small. So trusting. I'm still scared, she whispered. Me too, Ethan replied. But I've stopped running from it. She looked up, searching his face, and this time there was no armor, just honesty and hope. The next day, Ethan picked Noah up early from school. They went for ice cream and afterward sat on a bench watching ducks waddle near the lake. Noah leaned into him, sticky and content. You're always here now, he said. Ethan smiled. I am. Are you going to go back to your big city? Ethan paused. Not unless I have to. Noah nodded like that answer made perfect sense. Good. You're better at stories than Mommy. Ethan laughed even as his throat tightened. Don't tell her that. I won't. Noah leaned his head against Ethan's side and fell quiet. It was a kind of trust that didn't come with conditions. Just presence. Ethan knew in that moment. There was no life he wanted more than this one. That night, Clara opened the door and paused. Ethan stood there holding a small cardboard box. What's that? She asked. He shrugged. Some clothes. My charger. A few books. Her brows lifted. Are you moving in? No, not unless you want me to. Then why? I just want to stop going back and forth, he said. Not to pressure you, just to let you know. I'm staying. Clara looked at the box, simple, unassuming, and yet it felt heavier than anything he could have brought. I'm not ready for you to live here. I know, but you can keep a toothbrush in the bathroom. He smiled. Deal. That weekend, the town held a fall festival in the square. Hayrides, local vendors, apple cider. Clara, Ethan, and Noah walked between the booths. For the first time, they looked like a family. People waved. Kids from Noah's school ran up and said hi. And Clara saw it in their faces. The same recognition she was beginning to feel inside. This could be real. Ethan bought Noah a carved wooden dinosaur. Clara laughed when he held it up like a trophy. She laughed again when Ethan tried to win a prize at the ring toss and missed every shot. Not exactly boardroom accuracy, she teased. He shrugged. In my defense, I've never pitched against plastic ducks. The day was simple, warm, normal, and that scared her more than anything else, because now she had something to lose. That night after Noah was asleep, Clara stood by the window. Ethan joined her quietly, holding 2 mugs of tea. You're thinking again, he said. I always am. He sipped his tea. What is it this time? I don't know how to live in a life that doesn't feel temporary. Ethan nodded slowly. You don't have to rush, but I'm here. Permanently. I want to believe that. I'll prove, he said, every day, until it's no longer a question. She looked at him, her heart pounding. I think I already believe it a little. Then that's enough for today. And somehow it was. The wind rolled gently across the park, rustling leaves and sending bursts of laughter into the air. It was early autumn again. Clara stood by the gate, hands in her coat pockets, watching as 2 figures ran across the grass. One tall, slightly winded, the other small, and shrieking with joy. Noah, I'm gonna catch you, Ethan yelled, arms flailing dramatically. No! The boy screamed, weaving through trees like a seasoned escape artist. Clara smiled without realizing it. That sound, her son's unfiltered laughter, was a melody she had almost forgotten. Ethan finally caught up, scooping Noah into his arms and twirling him once before collapsing to the grass beside him, both breathless. She approached slowly. You 2 wore each other out, she said, sitting on their usual bench. Ethan looked up from the grass, chest rising and falling. He's faster this year. Noah rolled onto his side. Because I have big legs now, Clara laughed softly. Is that how it works? Ethan sat up, brushing grass off his sleeves. Apparently. Noah scrambled up and ran toward the playground. Clara watched him go, a blur of denim and light. He's changed, she said, more confident. You too. She turned to Ethan. He was smiling, but not with the casual charm he once wore like a mask. This was something quieter, grounded. They had come far, not without struggle, not without cracks, but far enough to believe in stability. Did you think we'd make it here? She asked. No, me neither. They watched in silence as Noah climbed the jungle gym. Then Ethan said, but I'm glad we did. Back at Clara's apartment, the fridge had more magnets, the bookshelf more dragon drawings. The third drawer in the bathroom now held Ethan's razor. His charger lived beside the lamp on the nightstand. His coat hung next to hers. He hadn't officially moved in. There had been no conversation, but he was there. Every day, every night, and more importantly, he never left. One evening, after Noah had gone to bed, Clara stood in the doorway to the kitchen, arms crossed. Ethan was at the stove, burning something mildly edible. You can stop pretending you can cook now, she said. He glanced over. This is the third time I've made this, and the third time it's smoking. He turned off the burner, grabbed 2 plates, and smiled. Fine, I'm better at ordering takeout anyway. They sat at the table, poking at the remains of a failed stir-fry. Tomorrow's the anniversary, Clara said after a while. Ethan looked up. Of? When I saw you again. At the airport. He exhaled. Feels like a lifetime ago. I didn't know how much could change in 1 year. He reached for her hand over the table. Everything can change. She didn't let go. Noah was the one who asked the question. It was late. He was curled up in bed while Clara sat beside him, reading from his favorite picture book. Mommy? Yeah? Is Daddy staying forever? Her voice caught. She glanced toward the hallway. Ethan was just outside, listening but giving space. I think he is, Clara whispered. Good. Noah hugged his pillow. I like when he's here. It makes the walls feel warmer. She kissed his forehead. Me too. Weeks passed. The hearing Victoria had fought for never happened. Ethan's lawyer confirmed quietly one day over a coffee meeting that her petition had been formally withdrawn. No explanation. No letter, no follow-up, just silence. That was what frightened Clara more than anything. She doesn't give up, she said, pacing the living room. She might have, Ethan replied. Or she's waiting. For what? For us to forget. She exists. Clara looked at him. Do you think she will try again? Ethan leaned back. Maybe. But we're not the same people anymore. She can't shake us the way she used to. Clara sat beside him. She still scares me. She doesn't scare me, Ethan said quietly. But I understand why she scares you. He didn't say more. He didn't need to. Clara rested her head on his shoulder. A month later, Ethan surprised them with a day trip to the lake nearby. Noah sat in the back seat shouting every time he saw a cow or a mailbox shaped like a fish. At the lake, they picnicked on the grass. Clara lay back, eyes closed, feeling sun on her face. She didn't remember the last time she let her body fully relax. Ethan lay beside her. He keeps asking if we're married. Clara opened one eye. And what did you tell him? That we're working on it, she smiled. Good answer. He turned to her, the wind brushing through his hair. Would it scare you if I said I'm not working on it just for him? She looked at him for a moment, steady. No, she said, because I'm not either. That night, Clara stood at the kitchen sink drying dishes as Ethan poured tea. She spoke without looking up. I was wrong. About? Thinking I had to do this alone, thinking love had to hurt. He set the mugs down. You were just trying to survive. She turned to face him. I'm done surviving. Ethan stepped closer. Then let's live. He kissed Or not like the man she once knew, like the man who came back and stayed. A year after that airport moment, Clara stood once more at the same gate. No flights, no running, no hiding. Noah clung to Ethan's leg, laughing about something only they understood, and Clara realized, for the first time in years, she wasn't afraid of tomorrow, because she wasn't waiting for the next disaster. She was building something messy, flawed, but real. Ethan reached for her hand, and she didn't hesitate.